Libromancer can't go second. So recently, I've seen a buttload of slander towards my bros in the Libromancer archetype. Things like, this deck can't go second, or this deck has whack end fields, or Libromancer of Fire kinda looks like an upside down mop, and quite frankly, I'm sick of it. All these things are completely and utterly just not true whatsoever. Except maybe the mop comment, that's kind of accurate. But basically, I want to prove all of these comments wrong and show off just how strong Libromancer can be. So today, I've gathered a whole bunch of replays from my KC Cup climb, showing off this deck list specifically beating only the top decks in the game. Bird, Blue Eyes, and Dragon, and putting myself in scenarios where I just had absolutely no reason to win whatsoever, I was completely unfavored, and then proceeding to shit stomp them into the ground. That's what this video is, so without further ado, let me show you how. So here's today's deck list. Now just a reminder before I get into the deck list, if you guys are enjoying today's video and want to see some more content just like this in the future, or more deck lists of me in the future, please remember to leave a like and consider subscribing to the channel down below. Alright, let's jump into this deck list. Alright, so your Libromancer monsters have relatively simple effects. All of them, by revealing a ritual monster in hand, can just special summon themselves to the field. Then they will have a bonus effect when they're summoned. So first of all, we have your Fire. This thing on the field searches for a monster from your deck list. This thing searches for a spell from your deck list. This thing on the field can just grab back your cards from your graveyard and add them back to your hand. Then we have this card, which has an effect which you're going to completely ignore. I've never used it once and probably never will. It's basically just in here because the skill forces you to play it, but it can be used as an extender just because, just like all the others, it can summon itself to the field whenever you want it. Alright, then we have your ritual monsters. First of all, we have Doombroker. This thing can hit your opponent directly and do 1 billion damage if you use a monster on field as material when you summon it, and also when it's on the field, and grab trap cards from your deck and set them on the field. Then we have this guy. This thing can attack multiple times a turn, and if you use a monster on field for material, it can do double battle damage. It can also boost its own attack by 200 by banishing ritual monsters from your graveyard. Then we have this card. This thing is mostly just going to be used as fodder for your Herald Negates, as you'll see during the replays, and we'll show during the replays how you get a hold of those hands and stuff. But essentially, it's just a Fairy and Light monster, so that's mostly all it's used for. You can sometimes reduce your opponent's monster attack to 0 and negate their effects, which can lead to some lethals, but outside of that, it's mostly just used for fodder. Then we have this card, the actual worst card in the deck list, which serves literally zero purpose. At least this card is an extender. This one, he's just here to be really annoying and just be a brick in your hand. I wish the skill didn't force me to play it, otherwise he would not be in the deck. I hate this little dude. Alright, that's it for the monsters. Then we have the spell and trap cards, starting off with one of the most broken cards I've ever seen for an archetype, your first appearance. This thing, when activated, searches for a card from your deck list, then it can just do as many ritual summons as you want throughout the turn. It is a ritual spell that can be used infinitely. Absolutely disgusting. Alright, then we have the 2 trap cards, starting off with your displaced. Keep in mind your skill can place these cards on the field going second straight away, and of course they're both placeable off of your Doombroker. This thing can target one of your monsters, bounce it, target one of your opponent's monsters and steal it. Then we have your trap card. This is an Omni Negate. This one you're not going to use as often going second, it's more of a going first card because it requires a ritual monster on the field already. Then when there's a ritual monster on the field, your opponent tries to use the card effect. As an Omni Negate, you can negate the effect, bounce your ritual back to hand, and summon a dude from the graveyard, which generally turns into more extension or searching for things like this card to use with your heralds, as you'll see during the replay portion. The rest of the deck list is basically just tech cards, so I know a lot of people are probably going to ask me why I'm not playing this card in the deck list, or why I'm not playing X card in the deck list, or Y card in the deck list. The reason is always going to be the same. I'm just trying to cut as many cards as physically possible in order to play as many tech cards as physically possible in this deck list. Basically, I'm playing all the 1-card starters, so your 3 copies of Fire, 3 copies of Geek Boy, 3 copies of your Agent. These are your best 1-card starters that all end on the optimal end field. And outside of that, I've cut everything else I possibly can in order to stuff in just a shitload of tech cards, because the more tech cards you play, the better draws you got for your Heat Soul, and going second, the better odds you have having tech cards deal with your opponent's fields. With this deck list, you have about a 68% chance to open 2 techs going second, and 2 techs going first as well. So I think you should be playing a bunch of techs in this deck list. I've seen people complain they're struggling going second and stuff. If you're struggling going second and you're playing a whole bunch of other just sort of engine pieces and stuff, maybe consider cutting back some more and running more techs, as more techs equals just way better win rate going second. That's basically it. Alright, and that's it for the deck list, so without further ado, let's check out some gameplay. Alright, so during my KC Cup climb, I decided to gather a whole bunch of replays playing against the top 3 decks in the game, specifically the top 3 decks, Sheena Bird, Blue Eyes, and Dragon. These decks are the ones considered by most people to be the strongest decks in the game right now. Most tier lists will put them in the top 3 tiers, even off power rankings based on just tournament results alone, not even an opinion piece. They're the best performing decks. These are just the decks that most people consider to be absolutely the best decks right now. So I decided to gather a whole bunch of replays specifically against them. And not only that, I also decided to choose scenarios where they should be favoured. So that means Sheena Bird going second, things like my opponent activates a draw and lock bird, which you should never beat, things like Dragon going first, which is the absolute most insane going first field just in the game right now, things like Blue Eyes going first with their trap card setup, all scenarios this deck should struggle into. I wanted to show those replays specifically of this deck beating them. That does mean some of my hands are pretty lucky specifically, but keep in mind, I decided to gather the replays where I should be just not favoured at all whatsoever. Because obviously this deck against a lot of other decks, or just against going first in some of these matchups, you just steamroll them. So it's mostly just showing off this deck can win unfavourable scenarios as well, if you draw the right techs and whatever else. I just wanted to show beating the best of the best in their best scenarios. Alright, let's get into it. So starting us off, we have the Dragon replay, where Dragon is going first. So this deck luckily plays a bunch of tech cards. I'm playing 12 tech cards, I think. We're playing 6 copies of either a Negate with the Chalice or the Droplet. We're playing 3 copies of Cosmic. And we have the 2 Fairy hand traps, which are searchable from the deck, and we have a Cerberus, which is also searchable from the deck. So we have a lot of ways to play through fields and try to get through things, and the extra deck also helps immensely with that. You'll see that plenty throughout this replay. Alright, so up against Dragon. So Dragon going first, you shouldn't beat this deck. I don't think there's a deck in the game that should really be beating this deck going first. This is one of the most poorly designed skills I've ever seen in my life, where it's just, if you go first with it, you should probably win. If you go second, you should probably lose. I hate this sort of design of a skill. I really wish this skill would go away, just because that sort of gameplay is awful. It feels like Master Duel coin toss sort of formats. I hate that shit, so you shouldn't be beating this going first. That's the TLDR. So we'll fast forward a little bit. We did open Droplet, which is fantastic. If you don't open Droplet in this matchup, you're probably screwed in regardless. I think most decks, if you don't open Droplet versus this, you probably lose. But even with Droplet, I only negate 2 things on this guy's end field, and he can revive one of those 2 things, so you'll see anyway. Alright, so eventually he finishes his turn after a 700-year combo. Alright, summoning some stuff, goes for an IP, and set 3. So he has set 3, a negate, a bounce, which could summon another bounce or another destroy 2, or whatever it summons from the deck. We have IP Masquerader, and yeah, whatever the set cards are, and whatever potential hand traps he might have. And at some point he gets the Dragon Maid trap card in graveyard, which can revive this card even after I've dropleted it. You'll see. Alright. So he's going to summon back his card from the grave. That's how he gets the Dragon Maid trap card, which I believe he sends to the graveyard with Droplet at some point. Alright, so skills, first thing we're going to do is search for Cerberus. Most games going second, you can actually just search for Cerberus, even with only 1 ritual monster in hand, because this card can just search for another ritual monster. If your opponent tries to target it, you can dodge it with trap cards, or dodge it with Cerberus, or dodge it with being Droplet, and search for another ritual that way. Alright. So I'm going to place the trap card on the field. This is the trap card you're probably always going to grab going second. There is pretty much never really a scenario you want the other trap card. This card dodges most disruption in the game that isn't like a negation, such as this sort of negation. So it can dodge things like Droplet, it can dodge things like chalices and all that kind of things. Just if they have like a negation like the Speedroid negate or Showers negate, just a negate that's undodgeable, then yeah, you're a bit screwed. In terms of trying to dodge it, that is. Alright, he uses Cosmic Cyclone, which actually turns out to be beneficial for us. I'm going to use my Droplet here. You'll see I only negate 2 cards on this end field. Don't even bother to negate the Heavenly Spheres. Sending my dude to the field. Fire's going to use its effect. He tries to use Droplet. Unfortunately, we didn't actually have a way to dodge this because we have Cerberus, and we'd used our trap card already, and we'd used our Thinger already. Normally, you can actually just dodge the Droplet with the trap card, but yeah, he Cosmic'd it. Right, Geek Boy gonna summon, Geek Boy gonna search for the spell card. He's going to Spheres here, tributing his own monster so that he can revive it with the trap card, so he brings back his Omni Negate. I think he probably did this a bit early here. This is probably why he lost. Alright, summoning a monster, and because he had a Link 2 monster on the field, I can use it to become Duel Goddess. You're going to be seeing a lot of this card in these replays, because essentially, this deck can summon a bunch to the field. I've seen a lot of people say this deck sucks going second, because the field spell, as soon as it's removed, you lose. The field spell, you don't even use to, like, the very end of your combo. You summon so many cards to the field with this deck. So you can just make Underworld whenever you want. He can't even negate the Underworld because it's unaffected by things that don't specifically target it. So I just negate the whole field. He can't revive anything from the graveyard anymore. This thing is 0 attack, so he's literally just dead on the field. And we didn't even ritual summon. No ritual summons used. Alright, so that guy was probably a little bit bad for his end field, but it was cool to see that the Underworld Goddess play. Alright. Next up we have Bird. So I won't be as thorough as I did in that replay with the rest of them, because I don't want this replay to be 2 hours long. So I'll try to speed through some of these replays. Alright, so this is Bird going second. You should not be favored in this one either. This is a really hard matchup. So in this matchup specifically, you have to open either a Droplet or a Chalice, or you just cannot play. So you need to draw into one. If you don't have one, you need to use things like the little Link 1 I put in the field at the moment. So you just try to draw into one. Because otherwise you can't deal with a mana and you insta-lose, so you have to have one. Alright, so you'll notice I'm just special summoning a buttload here. Link Disciple. Agent can add this card back to hand. If I didn't open a Droplet here, I could use this card to pop this thing to try to search for a Chalice or a Droplet. But going first, because you draw a card with the Doobie Summon at the end, the Heat Soul, you should have a 70% chance going first to open one. That is, if you got... Where is it? I've got the tab open here. If you got a 30 card deck, you got 6 copies, so that's 3 Chalice, 3 Droplet, you draw 5, 4 from starting hand and 1 from the Heat Soul, and this is not even including that you've decked into a whole bunch. You should have about a 70% chance to open one. Alright. So making Splash Mage. Splash Mage can then revive the Doobie put in the graveyard. We're not going to do that yet though, because this card locks you unfortunately into side versus. Alright, Benton searching the lights. Doombreaker grabbing a trap card, and then we revive, and making the Heat Soul. Alright, so you might be wondering, why have we got a green light in hand when we don't actually have another fairy in hand? It's because this trap card here, when it does its negation, it bounces this dude back to hand, then it revives a copy of the fire guy from graveyard, who searches your deck for a fairy, so you always have access to this card for another spell negate later on. So it's very important in certain matchups, because sometimes your opponent might activate a Droplet or Eclipse, and they basically force, well, mostly just the Eclipse, they try to force this card out. If they do so, we'll either force out your negation, even with a Droplet, because you want to force out, they will force out the trap cards so they can't negate your stuff. You'll still have a spell negate in hand that you search for. Or a trap negate if you're against Blue Eyes, you can search for the trap one. Alright, drawing a card and putting the dude on field, justify. Here's another negate. Unfortunately, we can't really waste anything on this to remove it. None of this is removal, so we can't really stop him from doing this. Getting the dude in hand. So if I shuffle these two away, it's just bad, because I lose 2 disruptions for 1, so I'm just not going to do it. I'm going to use one of my spell negates on the Mind Control, probably. Or if he doesn't use it, we can dodge it later with IP. Alright, he summons a Nano, just going to negate that. Activates the field spell, we're going to be negating that. Searching for the other fairy, and now we have 2 fairies in hand. Summons this. Now this looks like a weird steal, but for some reason this guy's actually used all his normal summons here. That's his second normal summon for the turn, so I was like, oh, I'm going to steal that. Also, it stops him going into potentially Underworld Goddess using my Link 2. So I'm just going to steal that, mine now. Yeah, unless he has yellow here, he can't actually, he has no more normal summons left. You could have searched for yellow, I guess. Negating his final ritual summon, and I believe we haven't used either of these two yet either. Mind Control, we're going to now dodge the Mind Control with the IP. Making our Underworld. He even could have gone Battle Phase there and forced out the IP before using the Mind Control, but we still would have lived the turn. So we would have just made Unicorn, shuffled one away, and still had a monster on field. And boom, boom, boom. Alright. It's a nice little simple replay there. I think he didn't play perfectly. I'm pretty sure if you had a better Bird pilot in his position, you might have just absolutely got shit on there. But I just think it's good to show that this deck, against Against Shinobu, where you should be like, where it should feel hopeless, you can still beat it, especially if they're not the greatest Shinobu player, or they don't open the most insane hands, and you open some good hands, you can still beat it. Alright, on to the Blue Eyes games, and there is a bunch of them. I saved so many. I saved a whole bunch of different Enfields, literally a bunch of different Blue Eyes Enfields specifically. So fast forward his turn. I think this one is just a more standardish Enfield. I think the next one was a Herald Enfield. There's a bunch of them. Alright. Because he's True Light on field. True Light grabbing a dude. Leads to making this guy. Summons a guy. And just adds a dude to hand. I think he passes here. Alright, so the most important thing in this matchup is Cosmic. If you open Cosmic, you're perfectly fine against it regardless of any scenario. Cosmic is just the best card in the matchup. If you see them use the skill, they put this on field, you see where they put the trap card, it's even better, you can Cosmic it. If you don't see where they put the trap card because they hard drew it and they just set it, then it becomes more of a 50-50 and things become a lot harder. But if they just set it with the skill and you see where they put it, just Cosmic it and the game is basically free from here. If they don't have the trap card, the game's free. Literally free. So he's still got his stuff on field, but this is just free as hell. Completely free. Alright, so searching for my deck. I could have searched for a Ceravis here as well if I wanted to. Probably should have searched for a Ceravis, honestly. No one's signing my guy. He's going to try to Veiler it. We don't care. We've got Droplet to dodge this. Even if we didn't have Droplet, we can dodge it with the Displaced. Or with Ceravis if I decide to search for that. Geek Boy grabbing a Field Spell. Field Spell going to try to grab. I don't know why he used that. I don't know why he used that. Alright, he's going to try to use Ultimate Fusion. We don't particularly care because we can actually steal his Jet Dragon, which will make my field indestructible. So, he tried to pop 2 with this by summoning a Blue Eyes back to the field. But yeah, my field's indestructible, so this guy will actually live. I would show the animations, but I'm literally 11 minutes into the recording already. Alright, fast forwarding this a little bit. Search my card, I just summoned a bunch of things here. Reduce this to 0, didn't even need to do that, because I can just hit him in the face, send it to graveyard. Grab a trap card for safekeeping, and he's just double dead. Alright, so that's one Blue Eyes Enfield. Let's check out the next one. So this guy actually had Nibiru in his deck, and Nibiru does completely ruin you. Nibiru and Droll absolutely just destroy this deck completely. I'm not saying this deck is like a super top tier deck or anything, but it could easily be a tier 3 deck for sure. But I just wanted to show off replays where you probably shouldn't be winning, but yeah, you just are winning because your deck is actually just fine. Showing scenarios that should be hopeless, but you still pull out anyway, is sort of what I was looking for. Alright, so I think this guy is the Herald guy. Which means we really wanted to open a Droplet or something to deal with the Herald. Fast forward him a bunch though. I really wish they would update this skill so it didn't force you to play every single copy of the Libromancers. So I just do not want Firestarter in my deck. This card is just a hard brick. It's just a Garnet. It's not even a Garnet, you just don't want it. Terrible card. Alright, at least all the others serve a purpose. This one has no purpose at all. The only one that doesn't have a purpose. Alright. Droplet going to be forcing out the Herald. Of course, he had to send a card from the field, so I'm sending my trap card because the Herald stopped descending from hand. Cosmic can then remove the trap card because we saw where he set it. Alright, and thankfully, because we have Cosmic, he can't do the dumb thing where he Ritual Summons the Shinobu from hand. If for some reason set another trap from deck, I was like, okay, I don't know why he would like summon a monster or something. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know why he did that. Either way, summon a guy, uses Eclipse, which is fine. We would have gone into Nightmare there, by the way, anyway, and tried to force it out, so you had to use the Eclipse there. We've got Nightmare regardless. Searching for my card, summoning from the field. This guy now does double barrel damage because he used the monster on field. And kaboom! Soon. Boom! Was that a billion damage? 4,000 straight to the dome from just one attack? Could even be more if I banished a dude from graveyard, but I didn't bother. Alright, next up we've got a different Blue Eyes Enfield this time. I think this is a different Blue Eyes Enfield. The next one is going first into Blue Eyes, I think. Actually already 14 minutes into the recording. Alright. And you think, by the way, if you think I'm getting lucky by opening multiple tech cards, like I opened multiple in this hand again, keep in mind, I'm playing 12 of them, so when you're playing 12 tech cards and you draw 5 cards from your turn for going second, the odds of you having 2 of them Once again, almost 70%, so you're probably going to open two majority of the games. So it's not even lucky that I'm opening multiple decks. Because of how I've built the deck and the amount that I'm playing, you should be opening them. It is not a rare occurrence. But I'm getting lucky by opening Cosmic against Blue Eyes though, that is true. I'm pretty sure that one is only like a 40%, I would think. Yeah, it's only like 43%, so we are getting a bit lucky with the Cosmics. That is true. Alright, this guy decided to go for a Seals and a Crocodile hand. And he's also set 2, so we have to try to gamble with the trap card is, and hope we hit it. But I'm just too good at this game. I know he's trying to hide it, not in the middle, so we get rid of it. Never target the middle, he's always hiding it on the left. Alright, can we deal with a Crocodile and a Dude? Of course we can, we've got a Chalice in hand, it's free. Tries to croc, we don't care, get negated. Normal summon fire, gonna use his droplet. This can just dodge it. Unless he discards specifically a trap card, we can just dodge it, don't give a shit. Threaten to steal his monsters so we can force that out at the exact same time. Summons this dude when there's nothing on field anyway. Gateway grabbing the spell. Alright, summoning the Magic Girl. See, Magic Girl also has a purpose in this deck, and that it's just an extra extender if you've already got all the combo pieces in hand. Unlike, yeah, the little fire guy, which has literally zero purpose in the deck. Every other one has a purpose. This guy adds a card back from graveyard. We're gonna go into Underworld because he's got the trap card on field. This stops him reviving anything from graveyard. Out comes the Goddess. And you get a nice little border for Goddess, honestly. Yeah, he's just dead on field. Can't revive from graveyard because we'll prevent him from doing so. Pop. And negated. Alright, on to the next one. I think our next one is going first into Blue Eyes next, I think. And we've still got a couple more. Next is the Shino Bird ones. Yeah, this YouTube video is mostly just bullying Blue Eyes. That was the goal of the video. The show was absolutely beating the shit out of Blue Eyes players. Alright, so I didn't want to show too many going first replays, because going first against Blue Eyes, you're probably favored even. I don't think you're even unfavored. The only thing that would stop you being favored is things like hand traps, like Nibiru's or Veilers and Imperms and annoying stuff like that. You can somewhat play around Imperms and Veilers a lot, but Nibiru, you cannot play around that. If they've got that, you're screwed. Thankfully, Nibiru isn't very good in current meta, I don't think. Especially when stuff like Shino Bird just normal summons a dude and then Nibiru does nothing. It's normal summon a Mano. Oh yeah. Ancient Disciple, adding back the agent with the dude. Making the dude, making this guy, grabbing the stuff. And against Blue Eyes, you always want to search for the trap card one if you don't already have it in hand. Luckily we actually had 2 fairies here, so we don't even need to search one off the counter trap revive. So we just have the access to it immediately. Splash Mage, drawing a card, sending one and passing. So unfortunately only 1 tech card this time, but we should be fine. Alright, puts True Light on field this time. I don't know why you would do that, but sure. Justify is going to negate his card. Tries to use the True Light. If this is the other trap card, we could just negate it. We're just going to Cosmic it, because I don't know why he put that on field. But anyway. Maybe he just didn't want his Blue Eyes to be targetable or something, I don't know. Summons the alternative. We're just going to shuffle that away because, well, what's he going to do beyond this? Haven't even used either of our negates yet. Oh, Melody of the Awakening? Sure, I'll negate that. And we still have a spell or trap negate in hand for anything else. I don't even know if he does anything else from here. Yeah, he does nothing. We still had a spare negate ready to go. Yeah, I don't think you're unfavored going first versus Blue Eyes, excluding when they hand trap your ass a bunch. Alright, so now we've got the Shino Birds, and I think this one was me getting drolled, and the next one was me once again going first into them. So if you get drolled with this deck, you have no business winning. You really do not have a business winning. But thankfully I was going second, so getting drolled going second is a lot better than getting drolled going first. And this guy I don't think knew what my deck does, because I think pretty sure he ended on Abyss Dweller. Or he didn't even read what my skill was. So again, not the greatest Shino Bird player, thankfully. Thankfully most people on ladder are not the greatest Shino Bird players. I think people think Shino Bird is just like a deck that requires no skill just because of the Amano part of it, but there is a lot of skill in this deck. There's so many cards you get to hand and so many different normal summons you can do for different ways to clear fields and stuff outside of just the Amano. But yeah, I just wanted to show playing through Duel here. So once again, opened the 70% chance for a Chalice or a Droplet, which means we can deal with the Ritual spell very easily. Also, Cosmic deals with it as well. When it's on the field, just Cosmic it and they can't Ritual summon anymore. There's actually so many opportunities to deal with that. Alright, Fire can go in Geek Boy. He's now drawing me, which is a little bit frustrating, but we can still play. Says in his Milky Way, going to be reviving the big guy. Makes a very big mistake of putting it in attack position. That's going to become very useful for me in a moment. Going to be chalicing it, of course, so it doesn't get the Amano, doesn't do any shuffling. Geek Boy revealing, summon itself. Can't search, of course. Gonna use the Closed Heaven. I love using this card in this deck. If you guys watched my stream in the KC Cup, I use this card a lot. If they put things in zones where you can point to, you can now suck up 2 monsters to make your Underworld with just 2 of your own. It is really good at clearing fields. In a deck that doesn't have a whole lot of just hard removal, this theme becomes just more removal for you. So targeting that, gonna just use it as material for making an Underworld. Deleting all 4 of the monsters on the field. Big Underworld. Bouncing this back to hand, stealing his monster, and he is dead on the field. Yeah, if you want to see more replays, I'll shout out again at the end of the video. If you want to see more replays against of this deck and me beating things with it, just go watch the like 5-hour stream I did of this, in the KC Cup grind, because yeah, I show myself bullying pretty much everything in the game with it. And it also shows all the losses and things that caused me to lose and what a brick hand looks like, all that kind of stuff as well. Which you won't see in videos like this, where I'm specifically showing off the best replays against, like, the best decks. Alright, final replay, and this is once again a going first Shino Bird, where you have absolutely no right to win whatsoever. Alright, Libra Monster of Fire, grabbing the Agent, summoning the dude, searching the field spell, grabbing the guy, summoning the dude, making the Link 1, making the die, and ending on the same end field every time. We got 2 tech cards this time. Actually, I think I had a 3rd tech card. I'm pretty sure I drew into Cosmic here. I had to make the choice if I wanted Cosmic or... I'm not even sure if it was better to have the Cosmic on field here, because Cosmic can remove the field spell as well, so I wasn't even sure. I'm still even not sure. I think Cosmic might have been better than playing the 2 negates. I don't know. Alright. Only a measly 2,000 life points. Big sketch. Alright, the Judgment gonna be placing a dude on field. Once again, we have absolutely no way to deal with it without... So we just have to force him, let him have his mind control, which kind of sucks. But we have negates and stuff for the mind control anyway. We have the Omni. Omni negates, then search for the spell negate as well. Tries to use a Feng 1. Gonna be negating that. He actually could have gone into a Underworld Goddess here using my IP, which would have been really nasty, but I think he just didn't notice. Yeah, you should not be favored versus this deck. I think any really, really good Shinobird player will probably farm you. Underworld Goddess is so good against my field, actually. They're able to slam out monsters like a deck like this can. They can just keep normaling. Tries to use Phoenix. We're going to be justifying the Phoenix. Enemy Controller being played. Got a negate for that, thankfully. I haven't even had to worry about a Amano for my Chalice. We're just chilling. Mind Control, because we search for the thing, we can negate that. And we still have a negate and a shuffle or Underworld, either one. We're going to shuffle his card. He, for some reason, I think he was worried I was going into Underworld Goddess here, so he flipped his monster face down, maybe? I don't know why he'd flip face down otherwise. Nightmare Unicorn, getting rid of his card, and he is conceding. Alright guys, that's going to do it for today's replays. Hope you guys enjoyed them. I tried to gather, like I said, the best replays against the best deck to show off this deck can do a hell of a lot, and it's not hopeless going second, so all that slander of this deck being bad going second, it's not. It's great. So yeah, that was the whole point of the video, and that's what I want to show off. Thank you guys for watching. Maybe it's the next one. Laters.
Hey, big brother, can I watch SpongeBob? Shut up, Mokuba. I'm busy flagging YouTube videos to compensate for the fact that I have an extremely small penis. Oh.